Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about how to become the best friend possible, as well as improving your chances of being selected with the upcoming maintenance and subsequent best friend reset. So, next week's maintenance will be bringing us the 6-player reset, which will include the rank 150, 250, 500, the special present one, as well as the IAP bundle, as well as the best friends. So, best friends are a vital part of your pad experience because they essentially give you additional PAL points, as well as being able to choose and utilize a leader on a much more consistent and long-term basis, because you can basically select them for a 24-hour period without them actually having to refresh and log back in. So this article will explain how you can basically increase your chances of being selected, forming a triangle, as well as even best friending me if that's of interest to you. So you can read about the official post from the Gung Ho page there, but hopefully this video/article summarizes it well enough. So the first step in basically gaining numerous PAL points is basically finding friends. You need to basically try and fill up your friends slot as much as possible to basically generate PAL points on a regular basis. So as you rank up, you will be eventually maxed out at 50 friends, but you can purchase additional friend slots for 1 magic stone, up to a maximum of 300. Now, this is my belief, but the sooner you open up your friend space list and basically expand it upward, the much more long-term benefit you're going to gain. Because pad is very much a patience game, and I've been playing for basically almost 1,700 days. So basically, the longer I've had more friends and subsequently best friends, the more PAL points I generate on a regular basis. So at this point in time, basically, I can roll the PAL machine quite liberally. And this obviously comes by having an expanded friends list. So if you do feel like you have a lot of popular leaders, it is worth expanding it sooner rather than later, because you're just going to be generating PAL points passively over time, as well as being able to eventually hold more in a future update from Japan. Basically, you can hold 100 rolls, if I'm not mistaken, instead of the base 50 at this point in time. Now, you basically need to display your ID, like basically just find out what your digits are, and then type in the ID of whoever you want to befriend. And you can do so through the various forums, the Reddit, or the subreddit, Facebook groups, as well as basically even trying Discord servers. So basically, when you are first starting out playing pad, you want to add as many people as you possibly can, because, well, you just want to get as many friends as possible to pick numerous leaders, because people might be rotating or quitting on a regular basis. But as you rank up and progress, you're going to become a little more choosy, because then you have somewhat narrowed down what you want to actually utilize. And at that point in time, you should start deleting people who are inactive, especially low-ranking players, because low-ranking players may have just quit or re-rolled. Like, I'm talking about people who've been gone for, like, say, like 5 days a week, and they're like rank 50 or below. Like, they're probably gone, so obviously you can take them out. And for myself, actually, at this point in time, I pretty much always delete non-best friends after like 7 days of inactivity, maybe less if there's like a big flurry such as now. So with that in mind, obviously try and log in. So what is the best way to display your ID, as well as showcasing the various leaders you have to run? Now, I've seen a lot of players post their ID like on the Facebook group, and then like a massive collage of all their 297s. That is completely useless and does not help me, because I think, wow, you have lots of cool stuff. Great. What are you actually going to showcase and display? Like, it means nothing when you just display like a page or two of 297s. So instead, what I find is much more efficient is a single screenshot where you edit your team, and you've renamed your team's name by just clicking on it to your pad ID. So in this case here, this is Mantastic's account. Basically, I'm showcasing the leaders I like to use, basically, so you can see kind of left to right what you can expect to find up, as well as my ID. It's one nicely condensed picture. You can obviously like copy paste your ID on top as well, if people like to copy paste, but the idea is you just have one image that gives you all the information you need to know. You don't need to showcase you have like hundreds of 297s. It does no good. Just showcase the leaders that you plan to run and display on a regular basis. And if that's the case, it makes it a lot easier. So the keys to success is that in an ideal world, you have a popular leader. So from this above example, Diablos is arguably the most popular leader at this point in time, just because he pairs with virtually everyone. So by having Diablos, my chances of being selected and used are quite high, because, well, he's so popular, like people want to use it. Now, you want to obviously make sure you try and display that leader in your slot 1, because slot 1 is displayed to everyone, even if you're not actually playing with them. In addition to that, you want to have strong account activity. So at the bare minimum, log in at least once a day. Like, you don't have to even play, just log in and collect your rewards, I guess, play the gift dungeons. But if you log in once per day, it refreshes like the last login on your friends list. And And the thing is, if it shows like a couple hours you've been gone, well, that's fine. You're probably sleeping or something or at work. But if you're gone for a couple of days at a time, then it starts to look like you may have not been playing. So even just logging in shows that you are still playing the game. And in theory, when you log in, you're refreshing yourself, which means you refresh yourself on your friends list so people see you more often. So it is definitely worth touching your pad account at least once a day. Consistent leader display. So kind of going back to that above point of having tons of different 297s, that looks inconsistent. But in this case here, if I'm consistently showing Diablos, people are going to kind of remember that, hey, this guy runs Diablos. Maybe I need a Diablos friend. I'm going to best friend them. This was obviously a bigger deal before when there were less leaders available. Like I remember back in the day, I used to play Sakuya, and I was very fortunate because I just played a ton, obviously, and I got a 297 Sakuya early on, and it was very rare at that time, so I got a lot of friends by just having Sakuya up. So kind of similar train of thought. If you have something popular, just keep them up all the time. Leave them in slot 1. Just be consistent in showing. And with that in mind, try and have invested leaders. So at this day and age, it's quite easy to get 297s and max skill. So you want to make sure you actually have all that done, as well as the desirable latents and even a beneficial inherit. And with that being said, having a more luxurious or niche inherit may provide more value. So for instance, if you have a Fujin style active skill on a leader who is popular that does not have damage control, you might become more popular than someone who has the same leader with a more common or generic active skill. So again, if you have those niche or sexier active skills, throw them on those popular leaders that don't have damage control like Fujin. And last but not least, avoid duplicate leaders display. So in pad, slot 1 displays to everyone, slot 2 is only to best friends, and your active or current slot is also to everyone. So basically, you want to have your active and your slot lot 1 obviously different, and your slot 2 different for your best friends. And by doing that, you give at least 2 or 3 different choices for people, and again, it just increases your overall popularity and level of desirableness. So with all that being said, let's look at how best friend selection works. So once you've passed rank 50, you now can select a best friend. And this is actually quite a large commitment by pad standards, and amusingly enough, it's a non-consensual agreement. You can actually just best friend someone and they can't do anything about it. They're going to be happy, of course, but like you don't need to communicate, but I strongly suggest you actually communicate. Now, when you best friend someone, it is a permanent thing. You can't undo it, so make sure you choose wisely. Furthermore, if you delete or are deleted by your best friend, you will actually lose that benefit even if you refriend at a later date and time. So again, choose wisely. Now, we've had a long drought since the last best friend reset, but before it was maybe like every 4 or maybe 6 months. So again, it may come back sooner, but it may be another long drought. So again, make sure you choose a desirable candidate. Now, as this is a reset or renewal, you're not actually going to lose your previous best friend selection. So let's say you best friended Bob and you want to best friend Cindy. You can do that still. Like you have Bob already best friended, now you best friend Cindy. Your best friend number can actually increase to the point where you could potentially have 300 best friends. No one has that, I'm pretty sure, but again, it is something that is possible maybe in the, like, I don't know, never mind. So what are the benefits of being a best friend? Well, aside from saying you have a BFF, you get to basically gain 100 instead of 10 PAL points when you use them in solo or co-op mode, as well as being able to see 3 instead of 2 available leader slots. Furthermore, best friends will be available for 24 hours at a time without a login refresh. So normally when you use a regular friend, you take them and they disappear unless they log back in. But a best friend, they stay there for 24 hours. So as long as, again, they log in every 24 hours, you always have access to that best friend. You only gain the PAL points once every 24 hours, but hey, it's 10 times higher than a regular friend, so it's definitely worthwhile. So again, when you are choosing a best friend, you want to try and find someone who has leaders, or a leader at least, that is suitable to your box of teams. Ideally, they have established some sort of tenure of playing. So usually a higher ranking player generally has been playing for a longer time. They're more invested. They're less likely to actually quit, as well as having some sort of form of communication. So that can be done either through like Facebook or Discord, Reddit, or even just the pad in-game messaging system, basically just utilizing that. And you're able to basically like kind of ensure that they're not going to necessarily swap around all the time. So another thing I want to talk about is best friend triangles. So best friend triangles is the notion that 3 people get together and they agree to form this special friendship triangle. So what they do is they don't hold hands, but instead you actually designate people. Pancake gives me a weird look when I say that. You indicate someone as A, B, and C. So A will best friend B, B will best friend C, and C will best friend A. So this kind of cyclic triangle, like the Holy Trinity, so to speak, will basically give everyone to best friends with a single selection. So again, that's obviously very advantageous because you just gained more best friends with only one token, so to speak. However, it only works well, of course, if all the players have the same desirable leaders and run the same types of teams. Now, this part here is kind of applicable to like newer accounts. So at least back then, I'm not sure if that's the case now, but at least back beforehand, when newer players started hitting rank 50, they're thinking, well, maybe I want a best friend triangle. But the thing is, it may be difficult for them to find a triangle that's desirable because for the most part, they may have an underdeveloped box. At least nowadays, you can actually like kind of rank up quickly. You can 297, Hypermax, Pentamax, whatever you want to call it nowadays, very fast. But even so, like it's just harder for lower ranking players to find a perfect best friend triangle. So what I would usually suggest is they best friend someone who's a higher rank who has stuff that they actually need to use to progress faster in the game. Now, at this point in time, stamina is still kind of the most valuable currency as opposed to PAL points. So even though you technically lose out on one best friend by not going for the triangle, if you're gaining someone who is reliable and consistent and has what you need, it's much more important. Because the thing is, being able to take the best leader possible into every dungeon that's challenging will save you stamina in the long run. It may ensure that you actually clear a dungeon that costs maybe 50 or 99 stamina, and to be honest, that is worth far more than an extra potential 100 PAL points a day. So with that in mind, you should really just try and best friend someone ideal. Like triangles still work, but if you're a newer player who doesn't have that much to offer, you really want to obviously best friend someone who has something meaningful that can help you progress much faster in the game. On that train of thought, it is very advantageous for you to best friend your two accounts. So let's say you make a brand new alt account and your main account's well established. Your alt account's probably not going to have too much happiness and luck finding people. So what you should do is you take your alt and best friend your main. That way when you play with yourself together, you're basically gaining all the benefits of having a best friend, which is important. And then your main account can best friend as they wish. So it is a nice thing overall to do, and that's what I've done with my accounts. So with all that being said, if you wish to best friend either of my two accounts, what you need to do is obviously send a friend request to the respective ID numbers, as well as leaving a comment down below in either YouTube or WordPress, basically saying like, this is me, I'm going to best friend you. Because I do get a lot of friend requests and I don't know who is going to best friend me, and I'm just going to be picky at this point in time because there is a reasonably high level of demand. So in conclusion, the best friend renewal is a very exciting time because not only do we get to have more PAL points and more easily accessible leaders, but we do kind of get to like socialize, so to speak. We get to kind of reach out into the community and yeah, Pancake's making weird faces in the background and touch more people, so to speak. So let me know what you think about the best friend renewals in the comments below. Do you have someone in mind you want to do? And if you want to best friend me, let me know as well. Hopefully you all have a mantastic day. Wish you all the best of luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.